Welcome to Did You Hear, your weekly dive into the news. Boy, do we have a lot of fun to get into. Our first story is as baffling as it is infuriating. The Taliban banned the sound of women's voices singing or reading in public. Yeah, the Taliban, who were never ones to shy away from extreme measures, have now decided that women's voices are just too dangerous to be heard in public. That's right, singing, reading, pretty much anything that involves the vocal cords has been banned from women in Afghanistan. It's like they sat down and said, how can we make life worse for women? And someone from the 50s from America shouted, I know, see? Let's make them completely silent. Of course, this isn't just about music or poetry readings. It's about control, an attempt to erase women from public life altogether. The implications are as chilling as they are broad. Women who used to perform at weddings or recite poetry at public events are now silenced, not by choice, but by law. Let's be honest, this is just the latest in a long line of oppressive measures designed to keep half the population in the shadows. But the real kicker is the Taliban claims this is about preserving Islamic values. Yeah, because nothing says religious piety like squashing the basic human rights of women. What's next? Banning women from breathing too loudly? Stay tuned, because at this rate, we might just see it happen. And next up, in the world where Taylor Swift concerts are supposed to be all about love, heartbreak, and a little bit of shaking it off, it turns out somebody at a Taylor Swift concert had a much darker agenda. Authorities recently foiled a plot to attack one of Taylor Swift's shows, with a suspect aiming to kill tens of thousands of fans. Yeah, you heard that right. This person wasn't just mad about missing out on pre-sale tickets, they had plans that could be only described as terrifying. Thankfully, law enforcement intervened before any harm could be done, but the mere thought of what could have happened is chilling. It's a stark reminder that even at places where we go to escape, like a concert, we can't always leave the world's dangers behind. This incident also raises questions about the safety of large events in today's climate. With so many people gathered in one place, the potential for tragedy is always there lurking in the background. But hey, if there's one thing we know about Taylor Swift fans, it's that they're resilient. If you can survive a 10-hour wait in line for merchandise, you can handle about anything. While this story has a happy ending, thanks to some quick action, it's also a sobering reminder that vigilance is key, even when you're trying to enjoy some live music. Stay safe out there, and Swifties, remember, love really does conquer all, even the most sinister of plots. Now let's head over to Texas, yeehaw! Where democracy is getting a bit of a makeover. Like a makeover done by someone who's wearing a blindfold. Texas removes more than 1 million ineligible voters from voter rolls. That's right, over 1 million people just got a big old nope stamped next to their names. And why, you ask? Well, the official reason is to clean up the voter rolls, which sounds innocent enough until you realize the process probably involved a level of precision you'd expect from a toddler playing Operation. And sure, there are people on those lists who probably shouldn't be on there, like your Aunt Edna, who moved to Florida 10 years ago and hasn't voted since The Office was still on TV. But 1 million? That's a lot of people the government decided that are subtly unworthy of participating in democracy. That's like telling a whole stadium of fans that the game has been canceled, but only after they bought the nachos. The implications of this are huge. With so many voters suddenly cut from the rolls, you can bet this is going to have a ripple effect come election time. Is this voter suppression or necessary maintenance? Depends on who you ask. But one thing's for sure, if you're in Texas, you might want to double check that you're still registered as a voter. Moving on to Oklahoma, where critical thinking just got a bit more, risky. Oklahoma revoked a teacher's license. The teacher gave a QR code to Brooklyn Library during a book protest. That's right, it's now easier for a child to get a gun than a good book in Oklahoma. Of course, Oklahoma's Board of Education was quick to pounce, revoking her license faster than you could say 1984, because nothing says we support our educators like stripping them of the ability to teach when they dare challenge the status quo. Yeah, the irony here is so thick you can cut it with a knife, assuming that knife hasn't also been banned. This whole debacle raises an important question. What kind of message are we sending to our kids? That it's better to stick to the approved list and avoid thinking too much? Or that standing up for your principles is often a punishable offense? Either way, it seems like this teacher's lesson plan was more on point than the state would care to admit. And in a world where access to knowledge is power, maybe that's exactly what they were afraid of. Next up, we're taking a detour to the exciting world of food safety, or in this case, the lack of food safety. A Boarheads processing plant was recently linked to a deadly listeria outbreak. And let's just say the health inspection report reads more like the plot of a horror movie, at least one that would frighten a food safety inspector. That's right, they found bugs, mold, mildew. Yuck, it's the kind of environment that makes you reconsider that sandwich you're about to eat. If cleanliness is next to godliness, then this place was a few neighbors over, okay? The outbreak, which tragically resulted in several deaths, have sparked outrage and raised serious questions about the plant's operations. You might be wondering, how does something like this even happen? Well, it turns out when corners are cut and regulations are ignored, people get sick or worse. And all the while, the company's still out there slicing up turkey breasts like nothing ever happened. The consequences of this kind of negligence are dire. Listeria isn't just a mild inconvenience, it's a deadly pathogen, especially for those who are vulnerable, like the elderly, pregnant women, and babies who like anime. I don't know. And even so, even though we know this is terrible, here we are, yet again, once again, talking about a foodborne illness that was entirely preventable. So next time you're at the deli counter, maybe double check where that meat's coming from, because you don't want your lunch to be the reason you end up in the ER room, only in the bathroom. Alright, let's switch the gears to some good news. Even in a week filled with chaos, there's always a silver lining. The U.S. National Parks just received a record-breaking gift of $100 million. That's right, $100 million! Finally, someone decided that our parks deserve more than just a couple of leave no trace signs and a stern rager with a bear-proof trash can. This incredible grant is sent to fund a variety of projects, from conservation efforts to improving visitor facilities. You might soon be able to enjoy a trail without stepping into a pothole the size of Delaware, or perhaps even find a bathroom that doesn't feel like you walked into a time machine set to gas station circa 1985. Okay, jokes aside, this gift couldn't come at a better time. Our national parks are treasures, and they've been struggling with budget cuts, overcrowding, and the impacts of climate change. Yeah, it's real. With this money, we can ensure that these natural wonders are preserved for generations to come, or at least until someone decides that a luxury resort in Yosemite sounds like a good idea. Let's raise a toast to whoever wrote that check. You just become a hero to every hiker, camper, and overzealous birdwatcher in the company. And if you've never visited a national park, well, maybe now's the time to start planning that trip. And now let's head to Kentucky, where the land of Southern hospitality took a hard left into something much uglier. A former University of Kentucky student recently pled guilty to a racist attack that was caught on video and spread like a wildfire across social media. The incident, which involved a brutal assault combined with racial slurs, served as a stark reminder that in 2024 we're still fighting the same old battles. I thought we won the Civil War. What is happening? The student in question clearly missed the memo that hate is not a college prerequisite, found herself at the center of a legal storm. Her guilty plea brings some closure to the case, but it also opens up a wider discussion about the state of racism on college campuses. You know, the places that are supposed to broaden our horizons and educate us about diversity. Yeah, those things that are very expensive. And we'll talk about colleges more in a bit, actually. But what's truly disturbing is how incidents like these continue to pop up, reminding us that for all our progress, there's still a lot of work to be done. It's not just about one person's actions, it's about the environment that allows such behavior to thrive. And while the justice system did its part here, the bigger question remains: what are universities doing to prevent this kind of hatred from taking root in the first place? So while this case might be wrapped up in court, the conversation it sparks should just be the beginning. Because if there's one thing we can all agree on, that there is no place for this kind of ugliness in our schools or anywhere else that matters. Now let's talk about something weighing heavily on a lot of minds. Quite literally heavy. Okay. The makers of Ozempic, a popular weight loss drug, are currently defending their sky-high prices in the US, claiming that it's all in the name of reducing the cost of obesity. Now, call me cynical, but when a company says they're charging more to help you save money or save your life, it's a bit like being told you should eat more chocolate because it's got antioxidants in it. The pharmaceutical company behind Ozempic argues that the drug's effectiveness justifies its high price tag. And to be fair, it has helped a lot of people, but let's not forget that this is America. In America, the healthcare system often seems more interested in your wallet than your well-being. Yes, obesity is real, but also so is the financial strain of affording life-saving medications. Because people aren't just using Ozempic to lose weight, but it's for people with diabetes. So just remember that. I think this whole debate shines a spot on a bigger issue, which was why are drug prices so absurdly high in the US? It's not like they're handcrafting these pills out of diamonds and unicorn tears. Other countries manage to sell the same drug at a fraction of the price, so what gives? Either way, next time you hear about the latest miracle drug, remember to check that price tag, because it might just cost you an arm and a leg. literally. Don't know if you heard, but President Biden was foiled again in the latest saga of student loans, a drama that makes Game of Thrones look like a light comedy where Steve Carell is the leading character. The Supreme Court has once again put a stop to President Biden's effort to ease the burden of millions of student loan borrowers. That's right, the justices decided that the only worse thing than crippling debt is, well, less crippling debt, I guess. The court's refusal to revive Biden's student loan debt relief plan is a major blow to those who were hoping to get even a tiny bit of relief from the financial noose hanging around their necks. For many, this decision feels like being handed a life raft with a hole in it. You're still sinking, just a little slower. But let's not pretend this is just about money. This is about opportunity, or the lack thereof. For decades, students have been told that a degree is the key to success, only to find out that the door it unlocks leads straight into a mountain of debt. And now with a Supreme Court's decision, it looks like that mountain isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So what's next? More financial juggling, more sleepless nights, and probably more ramen noodles for dinner. Because if there's one thing that unites all student loan borrowers, it's that the road to financial freedom is long, winding, and apparently blocked by the highest court in the land. Come on, Supreme Court. And finally, a story that brings a whole new meaning to playing hooky. A child went missing in Florida and was found on the roof of his house. That's right, while everyone else is panicking, imagining the worst, this kid was just chilling, probably thinking, school? Nah, I'll just hang out up here, looking over the city skyline. The child was reported missing by his worried parents, who no doubt were imagining every possible disaster scenario for this child. Then enter the TV news helicopter crew, who spotted the boy on the roof, blissfully unaware of the chaos his little rooftop adventure was causing. It's like a scene straight out of a sitcom, if the sitcom had helicopters and terrified parents. Now, you've got to admire the kid's commitment to avoiding school. I mean, who among us hasn't daydreamed about running away from homework? But that brings the dedication to hooky to new heights. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Of course, this story has a happy ending. Everyone's safe, the kid's back on the ground, and he's probably grounded for life. But let this be a lesson to all kids out there. If you're gonna skip school, just pretend to be sick, because the last thing you want to be is the subject of a news story. And that, my newsies, is the end of your weekly news. I'll see you next week. Computer logging off.